Utah, give me 2. As in 2 games on a Tuesday. Another final, this one from Philly, 27-17. The Eagles walk away winners. Jalen Hurts, slow to start, but by the numbers, probably his best game as a Philadelphia Eagle. 20 of 26, 296, a touchdown through the air. Did have an INT, but that was barely on his name. 38 rushing yards, 2 rushing TDs as well. With the win, the Eagles' chances of making the playoffs, according to our numbers people, went from 31% to better than a 40% chance to see postseason action. All right, let's get our guys back in the mix. Scott Pioli, Ryan Wilson here to break down this one as well. Guys, it was sort of everything we expected, and then some more, at least in terms of the points and the offensive production when we're talking about NFC East football. Scott, you're talking defense being the big standout for you in this matchup.
Yeah, to me, it was the defensive performance of Fletcher Cox. As you watch that game, he was so disruptive and all over the field. He really put the entire Washington football team's offense off kilter. He had 1.5 sacks. He had another tackle for loss and then 4 quarterback hits. But beyond that, he was so disruptive and so unblockable tonight. That created a lot of problems for the Washington football team. I felt like they were never able to get into a rhythm the way that they played in the job that Fletcher Cox did. So to me, there's a lot to talk about in offense. I know we're going to get to that, but I really felt the need to talk about really the job that Fletcher Cox did tonight and why he is still one of the best defensive linemen in the National Football League.
You situated so perfectly there, Scott. He's been doing this for so long that when we see one of these performances, we kind of think, yeah, Fletcher Cox doing Fletcher Cox things.
Exactly.
If we want to take the conversation to the offensive side of the ball, Ryan Wilson, what really jumped out to you? Jalen Hurts seemed to be not only effective, but really in control of the way that he orchestrated this offense, or at least more in control than we see him at times.
That's right, Joe. And the interception he had was some freak play on the first throw of the game that went off Dallas Scott's heel.
Scratch it.
It looked like he was playing soccer. It wasn't even football. It was nuts. So Jalen, I'll be honest, I have not been the biggest supporter of Jalen Hurts over the course of this season. I had questions about his consistency and his love of going right and staying right when he left the pocket too early. It's all starting to come together. Now, he missed some time with the ankle injury, and he hadn't played in 20-something days, but you wouldn't know it to watch it. And you can say, well, Washington had no one. They were all on the COVID list. Look, he showed up. He played. As Bill Parcells likes to say, your record is what you say it is, and you just play whoever's on the schedule, and that's exactly what he did. I was impressed with his consistency, his decision-making. This pass here to Greg Ward was a great throw and catch. His ability to run the ball makes this offense certainly something more than one-dimensional, and I think that's what you have to move forward doing. I think the lesson for first-year coach Nick Sirianni, and he appears to have learned this as we've gone through the season, you have to run the ball. You can't throw the ball 50 times a game with Jalen Hurts. That's not his game. That's not your offense's game. Lean on the run. Miles Sanders had a great evening, and go from there. Jalen Hurts can be the point man on that in a similar way that Lamar Jackson does it in Baltimore, though they're different type players.
Yeah, really efficient in the way that he did distribute the ball. Just 26 attempts, 20 completions. It is his first 20 completion game since October of this season. So in many ways, the best game we've seen from Hurts in a while. We'll talk about the playoff implications here in a second, but when you look at these two teams, Scott, we always try and take stock. We don't want to overreact. We don't want to underreact, but we do have to react. Did your opinion of either of these teams change drastically through this 60 minutes of football?
Not really, Joey. To me, they're two average NFL teams, and one of them is going to have a shot at the playoffs. And I think that's what we saw today. It was a cold night. It was a wet night. And neither team played particularly well, but neither team was awful either. And I just think that that's what both teams are right now. You know, what was impressive tonight, though, for the Philadelphia Eagles was their ability to run. Ryan just talked about it. The fact that they put up 238 yards rushing, and 200 of those yards were just between Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard. That was a strong night in the kind of night that they needed. The other thing that was good was the way that Nick Sirianni, his play calling to me was really solid, because what he did is he told Jalen Hurts, listen, for you to get on track, use some of the short and sideways stuff. Yes, he went down the field, but he also targeted Dallas Goedert 9 times, got 7 balls to him. So it was smart football in interesting conditions. But I don't think we learned anything more or anything that earth-shattering about either team tonight, Joey.
I think that's right, Scott. And you mentioned average teams. The Eagles sit here at 7-7 and they're just on the outside looking in. Minnesota's 7-7, the seventh place team as we sit here for the final wildcard spot in the NFC. So we'll see how this shakes out over the final 3 weeks of the season. But if you want to talk about Washington, look, I give Garrett Gilbert a ton of credit. He came out of, he was in New England 5 days ago, showed up in D.C. on Friday, and he's the starting quarterback. He availed himself pretty well. It was Nick Mullins 2.0. He certainly gave his team a chance to compete. I don't think they were going to win that game. They were up 10-0. And the issue, while the offense sputtered for Washington, the issue was that the defense couldn't tackle anyone, and they were getting run on all evening. Again, COVID-related issues, fair enough, but you're trying to win a football game at 5-8, and you're trying to get to the playoffs, and their playoff hopes have pretty much evaporated, Joe. Bad luck, call it what you want to, but I think the Eagles took hold of the opportunity. They didn't sort of stumble across the finish line like we saw a couple teams last night, and they proved that they have a chance to make that run at that final playoff spot.
Yeah, a bit of a rub at the green situation there. Again, Miles Sanders, sensational, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. First Eagle to do that since 2014. A $131 in this one. Still no touchdowns this season. Can we get him around the goal line and dial up a play for Sanders? Because he's still on a goose egg when it comes to touchdowns. I'm sure he's happy walking away with the win. But as we said here, guys, playoff implications abound. All the action on Tuesday. The Eagles with the win. They draw to a three-way tie for that final NFC wildcard spot, tied with the Vikings and the Saints. The Vikings do possess that wild card tiebreaker right now. So if the season were to end, they would be that last team in at 7-7. But the Eagles knocking on that door. Ryan, when you look at this Eagles team, if Jalen Hurts can be what he was tonight, coming down the stretch, how real are their chances?
They're real. Every last one of their games, including tonight, is going to be a division matchup. And next week, they could be playing Jake Fromm and or Mike Glennon. That feels like a game you should probably win. Circle back and play this Washington team again. Best case is Taylor Heineke. I mean, you can beat Taylor Heineke, and then at the end of the season, it's going to be the Cowboys, and you really have to play that football game. But you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. You want to play the next game on your schedule. But I love where the Eagles sit in terms of controlling their own destiny, and they're playing. Tonight's game was a good step in the right direction. First game back for Jalen Hurts in a while. Put to rest some of that Gardner Minshew conversation, and now you go into this game this week, the day after Christmas, and hopefully get a late Christmas present when you beat the Giants and get one step closer to that final playoff spot. And if you're asking me which team do I trust the most out of these three, the Vikings, the Eagles, and the Saints, I'm going to go with Philadelphia because the quarterback situation in New Orleans is spotty, and Kirk Cousins, I know a lot of people love him, but sometimes he doesn't show it big in the biggest moments.
Ryan, I'm right there with you. You mentioned which team do I trust the most. The first place I want to look at is the quarterback position. But as I look at all three of those teams, it's a real question mark, including Minnesota, where they have the biggest name quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He has not been dependable. He has not been consistent. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he hasn't been the guy that contract is. You look at Jalen Hurts. Again, he was okay tonight, or maybe his best game tonight, but I'm still not completely sold because when you look at that Washington front seven, Jalen Hurts didn't have to deal with a whole lot tonight and wasn't going to have to deal with a whole lot. So to me, this is a complete coin flip, and whoever's there, I don't think is going to have the ability or be good enough to make much or to do much damage to anybody that's ahead of them in that wild card spot.
I'm just happy that it's a Tuesday night. I get to speak to you, handsome gentlemen here on CBS Sports HQ. We got football coming from left, from the right, and playoff implications all over the place. We always appreciate you guys lending context. All right, taking a look at the Eagles this season. Started 2-5, 5-2 over their last 7, including winning 4 of their last 5. A point differential going to tell you a serious story here. They were chasing 3.7 throughout those first 7 games, but here they are rounding into form. Too late likely for the division, but as they eye a wild card spot, it's fly, Eagles, fly. Let's head back out to the podium in L.A.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.